Burnout was not the real problem for me. It was the symptoms. And no amount of productivity hacks, perfect routines, or short holidays over and over again could fix it until I stopped avoiding the real question. What was it inside of me that was pushing me to work myself into the ground? So I had to go into the uncomfortable and start looking at those beliefs that made overworking feel so normal. Before I share what helped me get past burnout, I want to make this clear. This is my personal experience, not medical advice, and it will not replace in any kind of way therapy. And also for those of you who didn't know, burnout is also not officially classified by the World Health Organization as a medical disease. It is described as an occupational phenomenon that can develop from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It often shows as deep exhaustion, emotional distance from work, from yourself, cynicism, and that feeling that you are no longer as effective as you used to be. So, about myself. For a very long time, I used to blame everyone else or everything else besides me. I used to blame the job, the deadlines, the pressure, the expectations, and the general leadership culture. And to be clear, work environments, unrealistic expectations and demands, poor leadership and chronic overload absolutely matter. They can seriously harm people. But at some point I had to ask myself a harder question. Why was I so willing to keep abandoning myself, even in those moments where I felt that something is not right, that I am not okay? Why did I keep saying yes when my body was telling no? Why did I keep working when I felt so exhausted? And the worst of all, why did rest make me feel so guilty? And at some point later on, the answer came. And it wasn't that I was not ambitious, but it was that I built an identity that I was relating to around being a high performer, always reliable and needed, because that felt good. Somewhere along the way, and up until today, I don't know exactly where, I learned that doing a job properly meant doing it perfectly. And if I wasn't able to do the job perfectly, it meant I was failing. So it was perfectionism or nothing. And that mindset made me push past every little signal or big signal that my body was giving me. The acceptance part. I used to look for the perfect tool that would help me get out of this anxiety loop and burnout, but I didn't need any tool. I needed to stop arguing with the reality. So I stopped telling myself these words like, other people have it worse, or I just need to get through this week, or I should be able to handle this. I also stopped treating my body like an inconvenient obstacle standing in the way of my goals. That was also an issue. I was thinking that my body was the enemy. I was thinking that my mind is the enemy, and that's totally wrong, because the body was sending signals. It was sending information. So my body wasn't telling me I was weak or that I was failing. It was giving me information. So what really helped me? First thing that I changed was my relationship with rest and my mindset about rest. I used to see rest as something that I needed to earn. I had to clean before I could rest. I had to finish doing chores before I rest. I had to be productive so I can earn the rest. But that's the loop. There will always be another task that you have to do, other deadlines, or any other reason that will delay this resting part. So I started treating rest as a maintenance and not a reward. Rest was not only something I deserved after completing chores, it became a part of my daily tasks. Number 2, I learned to notice stress earlier. And I know this is somehow, pretty easy said, but it's harder than expected. So my burnout signs were poor sleep, intrusive thoughts, irritability, tension in my body everywhere, difficulty concentrating, so brain fog, feeling dizzy all the time, and that feeling that I was never able to switch off. So I tried at first, because it didn't come like a flow, I tried to ask myself every day the same question. What is my body trying to tell me today? So not how can I force myself to go through this, but more of what do I need in this moment before it becomes too much? And sometimes the answers were pretty simple, like I just need a water break, I just need to go for a walk, or I just need an honest conversation with somebody. Because these are small needs, yes, but small needs that are being ignored for too long will become very loud. Number 3, and this is something that I still struggle with, to be honest, setting boundaries. I always felt bad saying no or setting boundaries with, it doesn't matter with whom, with someone who was very close to me or someone I just met today. It was so hard because for me, setting boundaries was like rejection, or I felt very selfish. So yeah, at first, when you start setting boundaries, it will feel very uncomfortable. But the thing is, I realized every time I was saying yes, but I was actually trying to say no, I was teaching myself that everyone else's needs come before my needs. So I started pretty small. I was like saying, okay, I cannot do this right now. Let's see the priority of this task. Can someone else manage it? If it was a very high priority task, I would take it. But for that, I was asking somebody to take over my other tasks. And yes, I know delegation is also pretty hard. Or I start saying, this deadline is not really realistic for me. I have too much to do in order to make this deadline. It's the small steps, baby. Okay, the fourth thing, but I will do a separate video about it because it's a bit longer, and that is journaling. But not that kind of journaling where I just wrote, okay, today I did this and this and this. This wasn't good today, but more of it. I started journaling in that way that I was distancing myself from the story, from my own story. The thing is, when you live with chronic stress and anxiety, your thoughts can feel like facts. So every thought you have, you take it as a fact. You think it is real, but it's not. Like, I'm failing. What's wrong with me? I have to fix everything now. I cannot handle this. All these thoughts are intrusive thoughts. And writing helped me put those thoughts outside of me on paper. Basically, I was writing in third person, but more about it probably next week. And I must say, this type of journaling that I'm going to tell you more about really helps distancing yourself from the emotions and from your feelings. Okay, the fifth thing was actually allowing support. I used to think that I need to solve everything by myself. I was competent, I was organized. I was always the person that others came to. But being capable doesn't mean you have to carry everything alone. And support for me had different faces. It can look like therapy, coaching, medical care, trusted friends, family, a support group, support therapy, group therapy, or simply just telling someone the truth about how I was doing. The support you need is very different from person to person, so that you have to feel for yourself what you need in that moment. So for me, it was pretty much all of the above. And again, a mindset switch. I stopped seeing asking for support as a failure, but more of as a decision to take care of myself. And a long-running task, but very sustainable, was changing my perspective about success. Like I mentioned, I used to think success means being perfect, being exceptional, available, all the time productive, and unbreakable. And how I see success today is that I'm still productive, but I'm not abandoning my needs and myself. If you are exhausted right now, please do not make your recovery another performance project. You do not have to change your whole life today, but start small. Start with this honest question. What am I ignoring because I'm afraid of what I might find? I don't know, maybe it's a need, maybe it's a boundary, maybe it's a big change, maybe it's grief, but start there. And if this video spoke to you, subscribe or follow for the upcoming journaling video. Thank you for listening.